Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
I'm David Howe.
And I'm James West.
Hey. Very special guest, James West.
It's so good to be back. I'm actually, so I was trying to squeak in and get that first three-peat guest, but Robert Moses, shout out, beat me to it a couple months ago. So
You're our second three-peat.
I'll take it. And good job. Shout out to you, Robert. Good job.
Good shout out to Robert. You know, one thing about Robert is he does not listen to this podcast.
It's episode 49, and we are coming to you from our hotel room at PAX South.
That's
We're
right.
recording this
At the Alamo.
Oh, hey.
We booked a room at the Alamo, baby.
The basement of the Alamo.
the hotel.
the
basement.
hotel Airbnb at
Really
the
good
Alamo.
ventilation down here.
I will say, too, just thinking about this right now, this is my third episode of Switch Headz, third location of Switch Headz.
That's true. You recorded in the hospital.
I recorded in the hospital last time.
Yeah.
So we're recording this on Saturday of PAX South. So if there's some big breaking Nintendo Direct news, that's why we didn't cover it.
Man, I hope a Nintendo Direct doesn't happen on like Monday.
I love that disclaimer that you put at the beginning of every podcast.
Well, there you go. We'll just say it there. Do we have anybody that we want to give some other shout outs to? I know that some people, we said we were coming down here, and who was it?
We're, as Patrick said, we're at PAX South, and we have an Instagram follower, Lady Ponsis. That's Pone, like PWN,
Like Poning Noobs.
like Poning Noobs.
Right.
But we follow each other, and then we were sitting by each other at like lunch.
We didn't even realize
We
it.
didn't realize it until much
And we
later.
chatted.
So
Yeah.
shout out to her and her Alice cosplay.
Yeah, that's right.
American
American McGee's
McGee's.
Alice.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was good. She had the blood splatter and everything.
Nice,
Yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
I also want to give a couple other shout outs. We made a post that we were coming down here, and we got some very good tips from some fellow Switch Heads. Lana Knight said, make sure you use hand sanitizer. And I honestly wouldn't have even thought about that unless she'd said it. And I've been using hand sanitizer like a motherfucker ever since I got here.
Well,
Yeah.
And they're very conveniently placed hand sanitizer locations all over the convention hall.
Yeah, like right before every escalator
Yeah.
where they know everybody's going to be putting their
Yeah.
hands. It's nice.
Yeah, so we're going to be chatting about our experience thus far at PAX South. But before we do that, we're going to go through the Nintendo news and rumors that we know of right now.
We actually have a good amount, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big thing is that the new Smash Ultimate DLC character was revealed on January 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Sakurai did his presents ? Not live stream, but stream of a thing he recorded apparently in November.
Yeah, like 2 months ago.
And the character, if you're waiting for us to tell you,
Is Dante.
no, it was Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses, and the internet raged.
Yeah, what does that bring our count up to on
Eight Fire Emblem characters.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just
If you
I think-
count the alts, though, that's like
I think that includes
the 11th. No, because there's male and female.
Oh, you
of
mean like if you-
Corrin,
oh, I
male
see
and
what you're
female
saying.
Of
If you-
Robin, male and female.
I don't think you
Oh.
can count that,
yeah. It's
but
the
I
same.
hear if you want to make that argument, because they're one character.
Yeah.
Because everybody has 8 alts.
Right.
So that's roughly 9% of Smash are Fire Emblem characters.
It's-
So
Now-
if you count all the alts, it's 64 Fire Emblem characters.
So I did not watch. I'm not a big Smash guy, so I didn't watch what is there anything that distinguishes this sword
Yes.
guy from other sword
Yes.
guys?
So the good
Definitely.
news, news is that Byleth appears to be substantially different.
Okay.
For one, I think it's the only Fire Emblem character without a down B counter, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be true. There
'Cause I
might
think
be
the-
one other. Robin. Does Robin have a counter?
Robin does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does Corrin have a counter?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Then I think you're right. There's no counter, But Byleth can use so you've played Three Houses, so you might be familiar with this. Byleth can use all the relics from all of the main characters.
Right.
So Byleth has a sword,
the sword of the creator.
Whip sword.
Yeah, the whip sword. Yeah.
And in addition to that, there's a spear for certain attacks, a bow for certain attacks, and for like neutral B, and then an axe, like a super powerful axe.
Wow.
So the moveset is Byleth apparently seems to be a ranged character in some ways more and like slow,
especially with that
ranged.
Spear, because it's like the spear is so long and it has, if you hit it with the tip, it's like really, really powerful. But then if you're close to them, it'll do like nothing because it'll basically just pass the enemy. So it looks really
unlike a lot of
nice.
the other Fire Emblem characters you who play kind of close up, medium range or whatever. So it just seems like Byleth is unique in that way.
Well, yeah, that's cool. Well, good.
That having been said, I mean, I definitely get people's frustration. It's Fire Emblem is a very overly represented character, especially in the past like 5 years or whatever since Smash 4 came out. Like we've gotten so many like in the past 5 years. And so I get people's frustrations. And also I get people's frustrations in that, like, I think that any one of the three house leaders would have been a better character than if this has been Edelgard and she played exactly the same way, I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A character you play as the three houses where you can swap between all three.
Yeah. Like Pokemon Trainer or something.
Yeah.
I almost thought that might have been the case.
That would have
those things would have been better. I understand people are upset. Some people say they're upset because, we had this pass and it was the fifth one and then it's like the last one, though it's not the last one now. And so they were expecting something bigger, though this is kind of big, I guess, for certain people, you know what I mean? Like,
it was a popular
they were all third party, so people were expecting another third party.
I just think that even people that were huge fans of Three Houses, like myself included, like all pretty much agree that this is a bit of a whiff.
Yeah.
It looks fun. It looks fun, but it's like, as far as like the legacy of like all video game characters now that we have so many third party characters and there's so many things to choose from, I think that's what people are a little upset about.
Do you think people would have been upset if it would have been another Mario character or another Pokemon character? I don't think people would have been this upset.
No.
And
I would just like I'm thinking about Dragon Ball Fighters. Like they just announced a new character and it's another Goku.
Oh yeah,
and that game's like now like 35%
I thought
Goku.
you were going to say in Dragon Ball Fighters they announced a new character and it's another Dragon Ball character. People are so pissed.
When are they going to put Dante in Dragon Ball Fighter Z?
I've been waiting for Dante in Dragon Ball. Yeah, but there's this idea of like with Smash we want a third party character. There's like the roll of the dice. And like in Dragon Ball Fighters, of course, it's going to be.
It's always going to be.
Yeah.
And there's a relatively limited stable of Dragon Ball characters.
Right. And you can't do Popo.
Yeah. No, you cannot do Mr. Popo.
I will say, I heard this somewhere. I forget where I heard it, and I can't vouch for the complete legitimacy of this. But from what I understand, is that Byleth was intended to be in the game originally, but then he ran out of time because he had gotten an early build of the game before Smash even came out, right? And that's when he kind of like decided he wanted to make this character, but he didn't have time to put it in the original game, so he had to push it back. So I think if this character had been in the base game, I don't think anybody would have been pissed.
Minded.
Yeah. I think it's the slot. Though I also say the people that say because it's fifth are upset. They would have been upset if this had been fourth or third.
Right.
It is. I understand why people are upset, but I will say personally, after watching the presentation, I'm really into it. I really liked Three Houses. Also funny to me is of the 5 new DLC characters, it's the only game I've played. I've never played a Banjo-Kazooie game. I've never played Persona. Really? I've never played Dragon's Quest. I never played much. I might have played SNK Fighting like in the arcades once or twice, but
it doesn't ring true to you,
right? Like I actually have played this game and really liked it. So
that's exciting.
There you go,
for sure.
And I think also it would be good for us to temper any kind of reactions until we can actually play the game.
Yes, absolutely. The stage looks really cool. It's got a lot of characters from the game in the background.
You can break tables.
I don't think it's like a stage I'll play a lot because it's not.
What's the stage? Is it the?
It's 4 different parts of the monastery. It
kind of
rotates between them, and it just looks cool. It's not going to be like a tournament legal stage or anything.
It's a lot of walk-offs.
Yeah, and like doesn't have platforms in all of them and stuff. But
my just last thought is, I wonder, and this is totally speculation, but I wonder if the fact that it's like a Nintendo first party character played a part in that decision too. That like, well, we can add Byleth because it's easier than having to go get rights from the Crash Bandicoot.
Well, Nintendo picked all these characters.
Yeah.
Like Sakurai has said that in the past. He was like, Nintendo picked these 5 DLC characters.
Right. And I feel like anytime you do a series of things, the last one can totally be a sea change, right? Like, and that's often done. It doesn't surprise me that they did a first party character to blow it out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they misread the Western audience. I don't know how people in Japan feel about it.
It does have the most dislikes on YouTube of any of the character reveals. It's like 50% dislike.
So moving on from Byleth, unless anybody else has any other things about Byleth.
Let's talk about those Mii characters.
Yeah,
let's talk about the Mii characters. So they announced a ton of Mii costumes, but most importantly of them is Cuphead, right? I mean, unless there's other ones that excited anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Mega Man X is awesome, and then Mega Man.exe is cool from Mega Man Battle Network. That was a total surprise.
That's nifty.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And then there was Atelier, or I'm not sure
from Assassin's Creed.
Altair, thank you. Altair from
Altair.
Altieri. Guy Altieri is from Assassin's Creed, which is cool. And then another Ubisoft representation is Rabbids.
That's right, they're Rabbids.
Oh, cool. Now. Yeah.
Okay. But Cuphead one looks really cool, and he shoots with his finger, so that's pretty cool.
He got like the full conversion sans treatment.
Yes,
and it also comes with the track from Cuphead.
Oh, nice.
That's
exciting.
It's
cool.
one of the few Mii costumes I'll actually be buying.
Cuphead is crazy because that studio has one game, and it's Cuphead, and it's in one of the best-selling Nintendo games, Smash Brothers, which is like insane to me.
It's crazy. Well, I mean, not dissimilar from Shovel Knight, who I guess is not in Smash.
Well, Shovel Knight's an assist trophy.
An assist trophy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess Undertale with
Sans.
Yeah. But what a surprise to those developers to say like we want your character in our game.
Yeah, that's got to be really touching to be like, hey, we're taking your character and putting them in this like classic franchise that everybody loves.
Did you ever see like the video from the Shovel Knight developers whenever they were watching the E3? There's a video online of them watching the E3 Direct where they had the huge Smash blowout, and they show Shovel Knight as one of the assist trophies, and they all just fucking flip out.
Great.
It's so wholesome. Like, it's really nice
you love
to
to see it.
Yeah.
And then after the Mii fighters, unless there's something else somebody wants to say about those, they announced that there will be 6 new fighters making up a second Fighters Pass, which we can purchase the same day that Byleth comes out, which is January 28th. And that those are going to release by the end of 2021.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe they're doing that to be safe and it will come out sooner, but if they don't, that would be about one new fighter every 4-ish months.
Yeah.
And we would have support for this game for 2 more years, basically, more or less. And that's kind of nuts.
Probably means we're not going to get a Smash for this current Switch era.
Yeah, I never really expected that we would anyway. I don't think that they should. I think they should just
I
build
totally
on it.
agree. Everyone loves Ultimate.
Yeah.
And it's great.
And while I am hopeful there are more characters, I know I'm getting greedy, y'all, but while I'm hopeful there'd be a third pass, I also feel like that 6 over 2 years means that's probably it, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think if they had done 5 in this upcoming year,
right, then there could have been
there could have been another 5, but I think that this is probably going to be the end. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't think I almost just called the Switch the Wii. I don't think the Switch is going away anytime soon.
I don't know.
So
I'll just say this. I'm looking forward to the Switch Headz episode where you guys predict what the next Smash Brothers is going to look like.
Well, let's
You
do
mean
real
every
quickly
episode?
right now. I know we don't have to predict it, but knowing that there's 6, I think everybody should temper themselves that some of those are going to be Nintendo.
at least one of them is going to be a Fire Emblem character.
I don't think that's true, but prepare yourself. Also, I got to tell y'all this real quick before we move on. This happened at 8 a.m. where we live, and so I was watching it on my phone, and my son was watching it with me, and he's 5, and he knows I love Smash, and I laughed as soon as it was Byleth, like because I knew instantly because I played the game, and I just was like laughing, and he's like, "What's funny?" And I was like, "People are gonna be so upset," and I had to explain it to him because there's so many Fire Emblem characters in the game, and as he's walking out with my wife. He's telling my wife about it. He's like, people are going to be really upset because there's already like 100 Fire Emblem characters in the game. And then later,
And she's like, "What have you done to our son?"
Exactly. And then later we're watching the rest of it because he wanted to watch it when he got home. And at the end, I was like, so see, look, they're going to have 6 more fighters. And he goes like, I bet they'll all be Fire Emblem characters. And my wife is like, you are teaching our child video games and comedy. Yes, I am.
That's like some classic little boy shit where it's like, I heard my dad say something, I'm going to multiply it by 100.
Yeah. He got the joke and he did it. So
Very
anyway,
good. Congratulations.
thanks for indulging me there.
I do just want to say about this presentation that Sakurai did. It's definitely the most entertaining presentation that he's done so far.
Yeah,
Like there was so many classic moments. Like just the fact that it was Byleth alone, like you said, was hugely hilarious. And then he spent like a good like minute and a half like teaching people how to count in binary on their hands.
Yes.
And there was
What?
you have to watch it. And even within the Byleth reveal like trailer kind of thing that they do.
Oh, that's right.
There was like a joke where what's her name? What's the character?
Sothis.
Yeah, Sothis was like, "Oh, what's that? Too many sword fighters in Smash?"
No, specifically swordsmen. And then what are you going to do about that? And then you see female Byleth joins.
And then she has all the different
swordswomen, but then they show the different weapons.
And then what else? He also at one point he's showing off Byleth, and a Mother Brain assist trophy comes out, and he just goes, "Oh, hi, Mom."
Yeah, that's right. And it's also really funny because they didn't announce the character, and so they show him tacking up the like picture of Byleth, like he himself is putting it on the wall,
and he just kind of like looks over, like he's like, "Yeah, I know. Let me taste your tears."
Yeah. So that's true. It was very entertaining in that regard as well. And they also. Nintendo also announced Fire Emblem Wave 4 for Three Houses DLC shortly thereafter that presentation, same day, called the Ashen Wolves. So the Fire Emblem Three Houses DLC has come out in, like I said, 4 waves. With this one being the biggest one that comes out in February, mid-February. This is sort of the story DLC. All the other stuff was little additional add-ons, where they add a 4th house to the game. Sort of. It's like an underground.
These are the kids that are too ugly to be allowed.
Exactly. They're like the Morlocks of the Marvel universe.
They live underneath the Alamo like we do.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. I actually like the character models. I might be picking this up now. I think I will. But it's just kind of funny that this came out at the same time. It also made me wonder, like, man, they've announced a lot of stuff here, like without a regular direct.
Yeah.
Like I really thought the Fire Emblem DLC would be in a direct. I really thought if they did the character separately for Smash, they would do the info about the next pass in a direct. I also thought it would be a nice little Fire Emblem fake out. It would have pissed people off to like, make it people think that that's the DLC announcement.
Maybe they had planned this originally because there's also an announcement we'll be talking about soon in the news that would have also made sense to reveal in a direct.
We can talk about it now. The Metro.
Yeah, the Metro Redux.
Yeah, because I don't have much else to say about Fire Emblem DLC unless anybody wants to
I
jump
do have
in.
one question about the DLC.
Let's talk about that first.
So the DLC is $25. Is that
correct.
just for this 4th wave, or is it for
no,
all the
DLC? It's an expansion pass where you get all of
get
it.
the whole pack.
Okay.
I think the first wave is only like a costume or something.
Right.
And then they added additional things you can do with
can,
your
pet
students.
dogs.
You can pet dogs. You can take saunas. You can.
Take a
There's
beach.
nothing problematic about
beach-
going into a sauna with your students.
Is there a beach episode you can
Same-sex,
do?
at least.
I will say, as someone who completed Fire Emblem Three Houses, I will not be buying this. I am so tired of playing that game.
Well, also this DLC is not like. It's not like post game content. It's like in order to access it, you have to like start the
Start a
game
new
over.
It
again.
appears to be.
Yeah.
They show the house leaders pre-time skip.
So it's like another. It's like a whole nother.
Presumably
path?
a huge side story. It's kind of. I think they even call it a side story.
Yeah, I think you can access it from any path that you do.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just
And
like
so
an
it
addition
happens
to the
before
story.
the time skip.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And you can. I think you basically recruit these 4 additional characters. As sort of. And they go off on their own little journey or something.
Matt, do you have anything to say about this Fire Emblem?
I have nothing
DLC?
to say about Fire Emblem other than I'm happy that there are Fire Emblem fans and they're getting DLC.
I'm doing it. I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah.
So like we were just talking about, another thing that could have been in a direct is that Metro Redux, which we thought was coming because it was being rated, got announced. for the Switch. Also, something just like a random internet announcement.
Pretty cool trailer too.
So it's the first couple of Metro games. I don't even know what their names are.
Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light.
Nice. I'll take you at your word. I don't have it handy.
I'm going to Google it, and if I'm wrong, I'll edit it.
Metro games are like first-person shooters.
Yeah, that's like I don't know. Does that qualify for? I have not played them, and I don't know I don't know anybody that's played them. So in my mind, they're cult classics. But
By the way, I was correct.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I think those are older games, right?
Yeah. I mean,
from the last 10 years, right?
I mean, the initial release date on Metro Redux was 2014.
Okay.
I played Metro 2033, and it's great. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like, I think it's even by the same developers as Stalker.
Chernobyl game.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least, and if it's not by the same developers, it's at least in that same kind of style. It's like kind of post-apocalyptic, like Russian, Soviet style kind of nuclear fallout sort of situation. But Metro 2033 is a great game. And I think it's cool that they're coming to the Switch. They're really good looking games. Like they were known upon release as being some of the best looking games out there. So it's exciting to have it come to the Switch.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they Jesus Christ, I can't think of the word. Yeah, there you go. How they optimize it for the Switch.
Yeah. As far as I can see, the graphics look fantastic. I can only assume it was in-game footage from the trailer, so I liked it.
Ubisoft has some hiring, some ad job posts, I believe for their Milan office, who I think was responsible for Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and so the large speculation is that that's maybe what, because the post, which my internet is failing me right now, but said something to the effect of a big hot AAA game is who they're recruiting this for. And it also talks about bipeds and quadrupeds.
Yeah, they're looking for animators that can animate like beloved characters that are both bipeds and quadrupeds.
So a lot of people think that might be a sequel to Mario and Rabbids, which I feel like they're going to make. I got some, like I've said this before on the podcast, I got some survey from them because I bought that game.
Yeah. Well,
where they were asking all the questions about like, what would you like to see? You know,
did you say quadrupeds?
They took my advice.
Not enough feet, says Patrick. Yeah, I mean, that game was a huge hit.
Yes. I think it's the highest third party selling game on the Switch.
And if I recall correctly, it came, sorry, this is anecdotal at best, but it came at a time when there was like not a lot of big games for the Switch. We got,
and it was a Mario game.
Yeah. And just to be like a big fun game. So I'm sure that makes total sense to me.
Yeah. You have to imagine that they're doing a sequel to that game, especially since I think the DLC also did well. The Donkey Kong DLC.
And Donkey Kong's kind of a quadruped.
Kind of. Yeah. I think that I'd love to see a sequel to that game. Also, I'd love to see them take on another franchise too.
Everybody's calling for Hyrule or like
Kingdom
my God, that would be
I hadn't even thought about
that would be even
Mario,
funnier because
Rabbids and Zelda or whatever.
Zelda's so much more self-serious than Mario is, so that would be really funny.
See, I've always wanted this team to do Super Mario RPG 2. I think that they would do a really good job with like a top down because Kingdom Battle was like surprisingly story focused. You know what I mean? And I thought
true.
It's a lot of rabbits and stuff like that, but the way that they justified it, I thought made total sense. And I'd love to see them take on like a story heavy game like that.
And you know who gets to come back if they make another Super Mario RPG? A Gino,
Papa Gino,
and you know who else gets to come back? A Mallow.
You know who else gets to come back? Mario.
Okay. Well, what you guys have already said, like if Gino, like people have said Gino is going to be in Smash, right?
Yes,
like,
there was a alleged leak of a Mallow costume.
Yeah,
I
with
think
the
that's like
Kako Demon.
That's like that's like an example of what you were saying earlier of like a Nintendo first party character that people would be thrilled to see.
Yes.
So,
So while we're talking about Mario RPG, Sabi, a leaker, has been saying that just recently a Paper Mario game is coming in 2020. Paper Mario being sort of the sequel to Mario RPG. And Sabi also has a same source, I presume, that says a 2D Metroid game is coming this year as well.
We've heard that before.
Yes, we have. We've heard all this a lot. Actually, this might be the first official leak about Paper Mario, but there's been a lot of speculation about it, which might be related. And apparently, Sabi's gotten a lot of things right. I'm sure they've gotten some things wrong. But the 2D Metroid game seems to be related to Metroid Fusion, apparently.
Oh, really?
Is what they say.
Dude, I would kill for a Metroid Fusion remake.
And
Metroid Fusion is, I think, my favorite Metroid game.
Sabi says that it's was mentioned as being a sequel, they think, to Fusion.
Oh, I'll take that too. That's great.
You can tell David's excited because he's like making a fist. I wish you could see him right now.
I did the Italian delicious fingers.
That would be so good.
Any thoughts or feelings beyond David's about Paper Mario or 2D Metroid? Are we tired of hearing this 2D Metroid rumor? I want to hear an announcement. I mean, I talked about this the last time I was on. I had just played Super Metroid, I think, for the SNES Classic, and it's a great game. And it really made me want to play more Metroid games. I missed all the Metroid games, basically all the primes. So I would love to see some new shit on the Switch. New Metroid.
I don't think Mercury Steam has released a game since Samus Returns. So again, it would make sense for them to be making a follow-up to that game.
Also, put Samus Returns on the Switch. Jesus,
yeah, I would also like that. I mean, this could be a thing, that it's like Mercury Steam is releasing a Metroid Fusion sequel, and while you wait, here's a port of Samus Returns.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be the best possible scenario.
Like a what do they call that when they drop at the same time as the announcement? Like a
shadow drop.
Shadow drop. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Man, I would love a new Metroid game. Since Metroid games there's a huge gap. There's like so many Metroidvania games.
Yeah.
And so many indie developers have filled that gap.
Yeah, that's true.
And this would be Metroid 5, because Fusion is the sequel to Super Metroid, and this would be like the latest game in the chronology, which I think would be really exciting to play. So before we move on to our main topic for today, we actually have a very special interview from one of the developers that we met at PAX South that we will be recording after this segment. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it to the future right now. Hello, everybody. This is Future Matt and David here, spliced into the middle of this episode you've already been listening to, mainly just so I can say that I got 4th place at the Tetris 99 tournament at PAX, but you'll hear all about that in the next segment. But we are actually here with the one and only Benjamin de Jager from what's the name of your game studio?
TurtleBlaze.
TurtleBlaze Games, and we're going to be here talking about his game Kunai that we played on the show floor, and we kind of became friends in a way. And now, do you want to tell this story, Matt?
Well, yeah. Because we played your game, Kunai, on the show floor, and then you guys started talking, and then I ran into you the next day and was like, you were like, I'm coming to Austin. And then you gave me a long pause.
Did I?
Yeah, you gave me a long pause, which I've traveled enough.
So I coerced you into
yeah.
Long story short, Benjamin is now staying at Matt's place.
Yeah, you say, yeah. But enough about that. We're here to talk about your video game.
Yeah.
David and I, we played the
first 15 minutes of the game.
Right, all the way up to the first boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a blast. And basically, so Kunai, do you want to explain Kunai to people that are listening? Do you have an elevator pitch?
I kind of had to say it for 3 days straight.
Yeah, I'm sure you perfected it at this point.
Say it to our audience.
Dear audience. So Kunai is about a tablet with a cape as the protagonist. Mm-hmm. And he wakes up in this world where a post-apocalyptic world where an evil AI is taken over and wiped out almost all of humanity. There's still a couple humans left, and there's a resistance going on.
Right.
And they were apparently looking for you because the game starts out with you in a pod. Sounds pretty familiar, maybe.
Right.
And the resistance comes in, activates you. You seem to be the one they've been looking for, whatever that means. But shit goes down. Mm-hmm. Can I say shit?
Oh, you can say
okay,
whatever.
You can say fuck if you want to.
Fuck.
You should say fuck.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
They get crushed, but you're still activated. You are able to break out, and that's where the game starts, and you got no idea what's going on because they didn't have the chance to tell you what's up. So,
right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you figuring out what the world is and who you are as a character, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and it's a Metroidvania. That's kind of important, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to say. Yeah, it's side scrolling. It's got like a great kind of limited color palette.
Yeah.
Kind of a pixel art style. Yeah, and I guess like what drew me to the booth originally when I saw it was the style, kind of the creamy like tones are very aesthetically pleasing, so it kind of drew me in. And then when I started playing it, I was like, okay, I'm getting this from the opening screen. It's definitely got kind of Metroid homages, right? And then like Super Metroid homages, and then but then when I started playing more, it was like the movement is what really drew me in, right? So like, can you explain a little bit about like the kind of movement options you have in this game?
So yeah, kind of the movement is kind of what the game is about, to be honest. So there's a couple things. There's like the color palette, the movement, and feeling awesome, really.
Yeah.
We wanted a more unique style, and that's why we ended up with the limited color palette, and then also the kunais and the ninja-esque thing instead of a. Because at the time it was still not a saturated market in terms of ninja games.
Right.
I mean,
there have been a few ninja games on the Switch.
I mean, Katana Zero and the Messenger.
Yeah.
Stuff like
but
that.
how many of them do you play as a tablet?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And a tablet that makes like a cute kitty face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tablet, so we can show whatever we want without
exactly.
too much effort. But so the movement, you use your kunai. So the game is called Kunai, and the kunai, everyone knows what a kunai is. Probably seen Naruto or any ninja game, really.
Sort of like a Japanese dagger sort of situation.
Turns out it's a farming item. Used to be like originally. But yeah, with ropes attached, you can use those to swing around the level. And so the game starts out where you have nothing, but then you get a katana, and then shortly after you get the kunai, and once you get the kunai, the game really opens up. So it gives you like wall hanging, wall sliding, wall jumping, wall running, and swinging from ceilings.
Yeah, that was something I didn't realize you could do at first, was the wall, because you limit the wall jumping until you get the kunai, which makes a lot of sense, because there's like stuff that you can only really traverse through the swinging mechanic like very soon after that. But then as soon as I got those and I was moving, I was like, okay, what I liked about it is that like the movement made you feel very empowered like early on.
Yeah, that's the big difference for like traditional Metroidvanias. We don't really like to keep you from all the cool stuff, and like usually at the end of the game of a Metroidvania you feel awesome, and
you're only getting to use that stuff for like an hour.
Yeah. So right now we give you like straight off the bat, and still have a lot of cool stuff to give you later on, just to be clear.
Don't stop playing after the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, the controls are really smooth and responsive. So which is part of the reason that it makes it feel so cool to like move around or like grapple on a wall or on a ceiling, and when you're doing like kills and killing other robots. Oh, robot bros.
What so like when you were designing the game, how early did the focus on kind of like movement play into the design process?
So the original prototype was still mobile, even though we switched like color palette and like controls, and then you only had like the kunais to like climb.
So it's like the only way you got around.
Yeah, so it was just the left half of the screen and right half of the screen will be using your kunai, and then once an enemy was there, you would pull an enemy towards you, and you'd like go in this frenzy mode.
Cool.
But in general, like every game we make, the controls are super tight. So it's like once we got the kunai and made it an actual Metroidvania landscape and stuff like that, because we changed. So long story short, we were looking for a publisher, and we had the mobile prototype. So we actually had a meeting with Devolver planned at GDC 2 years ago, and then we were like, wait a second, we got a meeting with Devolver, and we don't really want to make a mobile game, and this game is really suited as a Metroidvania for Switch, which was pretty new at that time, 2 years ago. So we're like, why don't we make it an actual console title? So we ported the game, or changed the game to like a Switch version in a month back then. But yeah, so it's a second commercial game, and like all the games, we do a lot of game jams like in the spare time before we started doing these games. They're always all about like feeling awesome, and like I think the game feel is something that we really like know how to do right.
What's your other game?
It's called Road Warriors.
Okay.
And right now it's only in the iOS store. It's a mobile game. It was a freemium game. but like every new studio out there, it's like kind of hard to make money in the
An oversaturated market. Yeah.
So, but we knew how to make money there with a mobile publisher, so we did that.
Cool.
But it was like, okay, it was kind of break even.
So this will be your first console release then?
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Wow,
this,
that's exciting.
it has a lot more, how do you call it? We say in Dutch, bombari, like around it. So it's a lot more, like you got the events to go to.
Right.
You got the whole QA stuff. We got like...
You get on podcasts and shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's
In
only
Austin, Texas.
it's only unpopular. No.
Many of our listeners are, programmers, enthusiasts, media, content developers. Maybe you could talk about some of what it was like coding a game that with like such tight controls.
Yeah, so to give a bit of background of the studio as well, I mean, I'm the programmer on this game. There's the artist and there's the producer. So we're just a 3-man game team, and we worked on it for 2 years. So we built the game in Unity, which is probably pretty familiar to all of you, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a love-hate relationship, to be honest.
That's what I've heard about
Yeah,
Unity.
but in the end, like when we switched from mobile to Switch, we actually received the dev kits on a Thursday. We flew to San Francisco on a Friday. I got the game running on Saturday, so it was like a couple hours in. So like it shows that it does have like the
conversion benefits. Of
Maybe it's different if you have like really want to squeeze all the performance out of the thing. But I don't see any use for making my own engine apart from it being fun to do. So I want to do it at some point, but like right now I just rather focus on making a cool game. And to come back to the question you asked, like how to get these tight controls, like avoid physics, actual physics engine. So we use a third-party asset called Corgi engine, mainly, and it's a raycast based engine. So and apart from that, it's just throughout the development of the whole game, we've still tweaked it. So like most of the movement was done in like the first couple months, but like initially you couldn't swing at all. Like the swinging mechanic wasn't there. So if you would use your kunai on the ceiling, you would just get pulled to the ceiling. But then like so most of the beautiful things come from annoyances or frustration.
Right.
Okay.
So
Tell us more about that.
now, like, so for example, the kunai when there was no swinging before, you see everyone use so when you're playing the game, you constantly feel like you should swing when you're doing that. So at first you're like, yeah, but it's a lot of effort, and how are we gonna like do this, and a lot of math involved, and that's not my strong suit, to be honest. But eventually it was like, yeah, we need to fix this, because it's like it's what everyone expects. It'll make you feel even cooler. So yeah, so
you learn a lot of that through like game testing, I guess.
Yeah, and going to shows and seeing what people are doing.
Right.
Even though we could have probably done without, but if it's frustrating to me for too long, something just snaps and you start building it, and then it ends up being less or more effortless than you thought it would be. But you got like if you have a corner and you like shoot the kunai past it into a ceiling, what you expect that will happen if you fall is the rope to bend around the corner, right?
Right.
Either that or it would break. So initially the first easy fix was break the kunai, but that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So
it's like limiting your control. It's like I said, it's about like empowering the player.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and what do you
feel
think
super
that
strong.
happens,
Right.
In real life, a rope would just bend around the corner, but that's like easier said than done.
Yeah, you have to program that bending. Yeah.
And then what happens is you actually start wall running, so the rope bends across the corner, and then you hit a wall.
Right.
But then you need it to wall run because that's what you expect to happen. So
Yeah.
that was fun. It might be a little buggy here and there, but not in the way of like actually, not in the way of the gameplay.
Oh yeah. So when does Kunai release? When can people expect to play it?
In almost 2 weeks.
Okay.
So February 6th, it's gonna retail for $16.99.
Very good. That's on the eShop.
Yeah, eShop and Steam.
And
both
Steam.
for PC.
Oh yeah, dude.
you can wishlist it already on both platforms. So
Very good.
Go do that.
Yeah.
It will help us out.
I bet it does. And you guys got any other games planned? Or are you guys going to be pushing this one for a while?
Well, we got to see how release goes really, because money. It's a thing apparently. Yeah, we'd love to. So 2 years ago when we showed it first at Gamescom, you guys already said it. It feels like it's a real cool thing for speedrunning. Like with all the tight movement and stuff. We actually had we felt that way before we went to the show. We were like, okay, we should put a time trial mode in there.
Oh yeah.
Let's just make one level and have a competition where you can win a kunai, which were basically Naruto things that we rebranded. But don't tell anyone.
This won't go online.
Got that. And people were nuts for it because leaderboards and stuff. It just gets to people, especially if you have a game all about movement. So we really want to bring that back as a full time trial suite kind of mode.
Cool.
That would be awesome, and then even like stretch goal be past that would be like a kunai maker.
Oh hell yeah!
Thing,
like level designer sort of situation.
Yeah,
that's great. And how was like working with Nintendo for publishing and everything? Did that end up going okay?
Yeah, it was. So we have a publisher called the Arcade Crew.
Is that part of .emu?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's their retro indie game publishing division, basically, and it's cool because you kind of become part of the crew once you sign with them.
And you also part of the crew. You had cool Letterman jackets.
Yeah, baseball jackets, right?
Yeah.
Baseball jackets.
I don't know.
Letterman's a high school thing.
Oh, right.
It's an American thing.
Varsity jackets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You get to keep those?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think so.
If anything else, you got to.
Well, the thing is, our studio name is embroidered on the front, so they don't have any use for them to get them back. I kind of lost what the question was. To be honest.
Working with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I guess they take care of all that.
We didn't have much direct. So before we signed with the Arcade Crew, we did have contact with Nintendo to get access to like the development kits and stuff. So we kind of pitched them the game, and that's when we got access. Apart from that, it's been great.
Oh yeah. It definitely seems like it's like a good fit for the Switch.
Yeah.
It seems like it would play great portable. I only played it on the TV, but I feel like it would play great portable.
Yeah.
And good kind of pick up and play game. I guess other than that, how was your PAX? Did you have a good time at PAX?
Yeah, it's like, to be honest, it's hard to differentiate the shows a bit. Well, so my experiences were like Gamescom, PAX East, and PAX South.
Right.
And then GDC, which is not really a gaming convention, of course. I mean, in terms of visitors
San
and stuff.
Francisco.
Yeah. So in terms of PAX East, PAX South, it's way smaller.
Right.
So
like Gamescom is huge, right?
Sorry? Gamescom. Have you ever been?
No, not yet.
The Gamescom
Germany,
is sick big. Yeah.
Okay.
That's like it's got like the whole of PAX South times 12 or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm
we
serious.
have to go to Gamescom.
I'll have to check it out sometime.
Yeah. So Kunai comes out for $16.99, and then February
6th.
February 6th. Mark it on your calendars. Put it on your wish list.
2020.
Not 2021.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah. Just being clear.
Well, it's good sitting down with you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to pass it back to past versions of us for the rest of this podcast. So here's the transition now.
We are back. So this week we are recording at our hotel at PAX South.
# Marriott.
So what
Shout outs to Marriott.
what is PAX? PAX is a gaming expo from Penny Arcade is kind of where it spun out of, the webcomic.
Yeah.
Do you know the history of this a little bit, James?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually used to be a really big fan of Penny Arcade, and then one of the guys said a bunch of transphobic stuff, and I said, no, thank you, and I stopped reading, and also the writing wasn't great. But they
love their festival.
They had a reality TV show where the first season was like following them around, and they did an episode or two on PAX, and like it was really born from them, this idea that they wanted like a cool place for gamers to just hang out, where it's like, there's new stuff to look at, but there's also like you can go play old games, or you can play board games or card games, like just any kind of stuff that they would want to do. They wanted a place where that would be a fun place to go and do those things. And so it was kind of born out of that idea. A few years ago, though, they handed over the reins to Reed Pop to like manage the whole thing, which I think was ultimately better because they've put some distance between them and the Penny Arcade brand, which I'm okay with for aforementioned reasons.
So there's one in like a PAX West in Seattle. There's one East in Boston. There's one in like Australia.
Yes.
And then there's like a tabletop one like in Philadelphia.
PAX
or
Unplugged, I think is what it's called.
That's
and then
right.
there's the one we're at, which is PAX South in San Antonio, Texas. And I think that's probably all we need to go over.
I mean, at this point, PAX has kind of like turned into it was, at least up until the last couple of years, like video game fans' alternative to E3.
Right.
Because E3 historically had been an industry-only event where you would, get games journalists and developers, and that was about it. But now, E3, obviously you can bring a lot of people in, and they've kind of almost adopted the PAX model as far as E3 goes. So it's like a fan-centric kind of celebration of gaming.
And my understanding is going through the PAX Discord, PAX South is the chillest PAX. So it's like more community focused. They have more areas for the community to connect or play games, and they have larger conference rooms and ballrooms for the PAX community just to like connect with one another.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I get the sense from like just media coverage that like PAX East and PAX West at least used to be bigger deals in terms of like announcements and like exclusives. And I got to play, whatever at PAX West for the first time. And that's not necessarily the vibe at PAX South. Like, I feel like you get to play stuff and see a lot of cool stuff, but I don't feel like it's like a big, draw for a lot of media, which I think adds to why it's so chill.
Yeah, there are big publishers here.
Yeah,
but there's no like Ubisoft, no EA,
right?
No Activision, no Blizzard.
It's a primarily like indie focused event,
and nobody's making. There's not like a bunch of big announcements or anything like that. So
cool. Well, so far, how's the conference been going? Any thoughts or feelings about it so far overall?
This is my second year coming. I came here in PAX. Last year to meet up with Twitch friends, and this year was even better.
This is I think my sixth year actually coming here. I came the first 2 years, I missed a year, and then so I guess 5, and then I've been the last 3. And it's just been great, especially the last few years as the convention center was when it first opened up. They were still building a lot of the convention center, the new parts. And so now that they've been able to integrate all the new stuff, all the new spaces in, I think they've expanded a lot and made it a lot more interesting and cool. So,
yeah, maybe we'll talk about the show floor and like the expo area, and then we'll kind of talk about the panels that we've seen.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. But I was just going to say, this is my first time ever being at PAX, and really at any kind of convention. I've never been to a Comic-Con, never been to like a Star Wars celebration or a Trek convention or anything like that. So it's been really fun for me, like just seeing people walking around in costumes by itself is entertaining. And then, having a video game podcast and being able to talk to developers and talk to just game fans as well has been a really entertaining time for me. Yes. But we could do your thing, Matt.
Well, one of the things I think that's really cool about conventions, and this was a thought I had about San Diego Comic-Con, but I think rings true for PAX, albeit with a different reference. But like, I was in a line at San Diego Comic-Con and I could make a reference to Futurama and know that like everybody around me was going to know the reference. Here, like I could talk about, Fire Emblem 3 Houses or A Link to the Past or just any game and know that like the people around me were going to understand what I was talking about. So this is kind of cool to be able to connect with a big group of people who have those shared interests.
Yeah, it feels like wherever I go, I'm like surrounded by my people.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think I didn't have that moment until today when I was trying to explain the Xbox game Steel Battalion to someone who hasn't seen Steel Battalion before, and explaining like what it was and how it came out and how absurd it is.
Well, talk about it because it's a thing here.
They have an area for like classic consoles and modern consoles where you can rent games, but then they also had a whole section dedicated to this unique game, which I had never heard of. And Matt,
an OG Xbox game with the biggest controller ever created.
OG Xbox Capcom game.
Yeah.
And they, at the console area of PAX South, they have 8 Steel Battalion controllers. And if you've never seen this controller, you should go Google it right now, Steel Battalion. And it's this giant mech controller. It's like an arcade controller with 2 joysticks and something like 27 buttons.
And then like toggle switches as well.
And
right?
toggle switches.
Yeah.
And in order to start your mech, there's a sequence that you flip the switches to start the mech.
There's also pedals.
There's pedals to move your biped. And you can fall over. And like some of the buttons do cool stuff like launch missiles, but some of them do stupid stuff like turn on the windshield wiper.
Or like engage coolant systems if you've caught on fire.
There's a big eject button too, which is great.
There's like a plastic piece that goes over the eject button. You have to flip it over.
Flip it up and then
press the button.
You have to put it. 2 people have to put in keys at the same time and turn them.
Well, and I think it was last year I was watching a couple of my friends play it. So they do this every year. And the guys that like the enforcers or the volunteers or what they call the volunteers for PAX, the enforcers that run this are like legitimate huge fans of Steel Battalion. And they were giving me like a rundown of the history and talking about how like, they wish it had really,
taken off or
worked out better.
I wonder why it didn't take off.
Yeah. It was a $200, I think it's a $200 controller.
It's like also like, your Xbox is your casual, you put it in front of a TV thing, and then you have to have pedals and a place to put this big thing.
But like this, I think PAX is a perfect opportunity to get to try it out because you don't have to.
I'd never seen one in person. I'd only ever seen it in like Electronic Gaming Monthly, and I was like, oh shit, it's real.
So let's talk about what. So there's also a big exhibit hall where you can, there's lots of board games and video games. You can try demos and buy merch, and lots of just other stuff out on the floor. We can talk about the demos we played or any other great floor experiences anyone had.
Yeah, I was able to check out a lot of games that I'd heard a lot about, but hadn't had an opportunity to try. Some ones for me that stuck out. Windjammers 2 was a blast. Played exactly like I wanted it to play. It's like just a little bit more complicated than the original Windjammers, but not so much to where it feels like it's a totally different game. I got to try a Boyfriend Dungeon a little bit, which I thought was really cool. Kind of a top-down dungeon crawler mixed with a dating simulator.
That's the one where you date your weapons?
Yeah, that's correct. You have a boyfriend that is like a sword.
There's like a sequence where there are sexy people, and then the sexy people turn into swords.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Those are some of my favorites. We all had a favorite that we played together. But what are some of your guys' standouts?
Just like going to Windjammers. It's so weird to hear people talk about Windjammers because it was this game that I played on arcade emulation and on like a Neo Geo MVS arcade system. So to hear, and like nobody in Ohio played Windjammers. And it's so strange to like talk to other people that have played this game.
Not just played Windjammers, but made a sequel.
Yeah, that made a sequel.
It's like a 25-year-old game or something.
And like a beautiful hand-drawn sequel. That's like really nice animations and really nice effects to this game that is essentially like Pong. Like stylized, really cool Pong.
Another old game that got rebooted. Matt and I got to play some Streets of Rage 4. That was cool. It plays just like the old Streets of Rage games. It had some good music too. I liked that.
Yeah, and the new fighting mechanics are a little bit more stylized. It's really hard. Patrick, you and I were talking about how do you evolve a beat 'em up genre, which is just press the punch button and the jump button, or jump button and punch button together for
and
a
that's
special.
That's kind of what people want out of those games, but it's kind of repetitive and played out.
Yeah, well,
it's always hard to strike that balance.
Not to bring up Shovel Knight again, but I was watching a video about Shovel Knight, and what makes it so good is that it didn't just try to copy classic games; it tried to incorporate new concepts into the classic game genre. So like that's such a weird balancing act to be like, we need to add new things, new quality of life features that people like in video games, but also we need to continue to maintain that old school style.
And I talked to one of the like marketing guys from Emu, I guess, or Emu, who is the kind of main producer on this game. And I was asking him about just like what it's like to kind of take these older franchises and bring them new life. And because Streets of Rage is Sega, it's like kind of like the Genesis like mainstays, right? Of the beat 'em up genre on the Genesis, other than like Splatterhouse, I guess. And he was saying that for the most part, like they had done some work in the past with some old Sega franchises, and they just basically gave them carte blanche. And he said at the same time, like they still check in with Sega because they just like love the franchise so much that they want to make sure that they're doing it justice by them.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? And so it was really cool to kind of get some insight from the publisher on that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Any other demos? What did you play, James?
So I historically have been more board game focused when I come to PAX, which is, I think, something people overlook when or not overlook, but like if you've never been to a PAX, you don't think about it as video games. But like there's a lot of board games
stuff, yeah.
and not just like stuff that's out, but they also have an entire section for like indie board games, stuff that's still in Kickstarters that you can go check out.
And you can borrow games and
there's
play
a whole
them.
library, not unlike the console free play area where you can go and check out video games to play on consoles. You can there's a library of board games that you can check out and play with your friends, and that's kind of a tradition as we pick something up we've never played before. This was actually one of the first times I've really tried a video game on the show floor at PAX. I played a game called From Rust that was that was interesting. I could see where they're going. I think it's still a little rusty, if I may. I think they would say they're still in super alpha, but it's a cooperative card game, but it's all on your computer, so you don't have to keep track of cards or anything.
It looks kind of like a bit of a like Slay the Spire style game.
Yeah. So it seems really interesting. You could team up with a couple of people or 4 people, and that one I played it, and that was really fun, and it was really easy to like sit there and play and talk to one of the developers, and it was a really fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Kunai, the three of us, not James. I don't know if you played this game. They had a demo for this game, and I really liked it. It's a Metroidvania where you play like a robot.
You play like a CRT monitor on a computer, basically.
It just like even before I got to the part where you really learn how to play the game. Like the character just handled really great, and I think in any platformer or Metroidvania that is one of the most important things. Like, is it fun to just run around and jump? And it was. And then you unlock, I guess these are like a traditional weapon in some culture. Kunai. I don't know much about it. Japanese. Yeah. And you're almost like Spider-Man. You can throw them into the walls or the ceiling and then swing from them. And you have 2 of them. So you can just kind of, the locomotion in this game is just great. And,
any game with good movement is clutch for me. Yeah.
So that game comes out like, I think just on Steam and the Switch it was.
Maybe? In February.
In February. And so that's one to check out.
This is 2D?
Yeah, it's like a 2D Metroidvania.
Cool.
It's got kind of like a limited color palette, almost like like Gato Roboto, but like with more colors, but it's like kind of muted and very simple.
Cool.
But it handles great.
In a time where I'm pretty over most Metroidvanias, this one like just controlled well enough for me to want to keep playing.
It was a really good demo too.
Yeah.
I mean, to like that's its own thing.
I feel like there's a whole art to like how do we present just enough to
because
give
like
you a little taste.
It maybe took 5 minutes, or I don't know, maybe it was longer than that, or give or take.
It was probably like 10 minutes
to beat it, but it was like a really satisfying experience.
Nice.
You know,
ended with a boss battle.
Cool.
Sorry.
I was just going to say it's such a like, and also the grappling hook mechanic feels like a Bionic Commando. So combining those two makes it for like such an interesting, smooth gameplay.
Yeah.
So you're attacking with your sword and kill an enemy, but then grapple to the ceiling and swing and kill another guy.
Right. Or like grapple your enemy down to you too.
Yeah.
Cool.
All of those movements like feel super sleek and smooth, and it's such a fun game.
This sounds so good. I got to check this out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You should.
A couple other shout outs. There's a game called Calico that looked really fun to me. This was part of like the PAX Together initiative that they were doing this year, which is kind of like an inclusivity initiative. I think there were a lot of games from like LGBTQ creators and the like. And Calico was one of those. It's a game where you play as these 2 magical girls who try to restart their cat cafe, and you ride around on a giant calico cat through this world, and it was just delightful. A beautiful game. Annapurna Interactive had a really robust booth this year, showing off a lot of games that had come out already, like Sayonara Wild Hearts, the upcoming Kentucky Route Zero TV version, which kind of combines all of the Kentucky Route Zero chapters. That's coming to the Switch, I think, this month. If
I was
not
going to say, do we have
February.
because I've been waiting on that one for
Yeah,
a minute.
it's coming out in the next month.
They
I
announced
think.
it. I don't remember.
Yeah. And then another game called The Artful Escape, which is like, kind of the quick pitch is like if you like Sayonara Wild Hearts, it's kind of like that, but for a platformer.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So it's very music focused.
I watched some people play that. It looked really cool.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. Very psychedelic.
Yeah. Also about that game, which is a cool story that David, you and I learned about. Say the name of the game again.
It's The Artful Escape.
That's the Guitar Hero. Guitar one.
Yeah.
Is that this was originally a Kickstarter game,
right?
That didn't get the money like 3 years ago, or they didn't make their whatever the quota was. But then like Annapurna found like a passionate game developer, and now it's being published by Annapurna, which is like so
it's like
cool.
a success story. Yeah.
That's cool.
And last shout out I would want to give is there was a really nice Inti Creates booth as well. And if you're not familiar with Inti Creates, it's a lot of the guys that made the Mega Man Zero games originally. They kind of moved on to create this company, and they've done Mighty Gun Volt Burst, and they did the They did the
fuck?
They did the fuck. No, they did the Blaster. They did the Blaster Master Zero games. So Blaster Master Zero 1 and 2 for the Switch. They did those games, and they had a couple new games that they were showing as well. The names are kind of escaping me right now, but they had a really robust booth, and it was really fun to play some of those.
Awesome.
Cool. And also we crushed some noobs at
Killer Queen.
Killer Queen.
Dude, we fucking crushed some noobs. We won like 5 rounds in a row.
We won 5 rounds. That 5th round, like a 9-year-old joined us, and then we won that game and then left her.
Yeah, we just abandoned her.
Hey,
We're like, oh, you know how to play now. That was fun. It's always nice to be able to play Killer Queen Arcade for free.
Before we move on to the panels, too, we went and listened to some music last night that was really awesome.
Yeah.
Bit Brigade did a Mega Man 3 live, where there's like I didn't know anything about this band, but they have somebody live speed running the game, and they play along to it. And it was just fantastic, the energy of that. And I wish I knew the name of the mariachi band.
I do.
Okay,
It's
you do.
Mariachi Entertainment System. It was
Mariachi
MES. Yeah.
They were phenomenal. They were playing. At least we missed a lot of their show, and I regret it. But they were playing like a Final Fantasy VI medley, and like some Chrono Trigger music,
and Final Fantasy
mariachi
VII
style.
Yeah, they did Final Fantasy VII too. That was so good.
It was
really cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's such a man, what a pitch, what a perfect thing for PAX South.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and they're from San Antonio.
Yeah, I would imagine,
it just felt right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's great.
I think I leaned over to Matt like 6 times and said, "I'm having a great time."
Yeah, you did say this is awesome.
Yeah. Patrick doesn't do drugs, but if he did, he'd be having a good time.
Mariachi Entertainment System, like I had no idea what it would be, but it was incredible.
Yeah,
and they
I loved
ended
it.
with Chrono Trigger,
Yeah.
and I was, my heart was swelling.
Yeah, it was amazing. We also got to see a little bit of Freeze Pop. It was getting late in the night, so we didn't see the whole set. But Freeze Pop, they're like kind of harmonics darlings. They were in the first harmonics games, like Frequency and Amplitude for the PS2. I don't know if you guys ever played those, but that's where I first learned about them. So it was at least cool to see them, and they're still kicking. I think they've done PAX before.
I feel like they've done every PAX South.
Yeah, I think they said the last like year or two they weren't there, but they're back. Yeah. So it was cool to see them.
I don't usually stick around for the music stuff. I'm really mad I missed that mariachi band though.
Oh yeah, well they'll probably be here next year. They're from San Antonio.
Cool. Anything else before we move on to the panels we saw, or you want to talk about that next?
Well, I do want to say that hopefully we wrap up somewhat soon because I'm heading out to a Tetris 99 tournament.
That's right.
That's right. I am entering my ass into a Tetris 99 tournament.
We'll let you know next week how David does.
Yeah, or when we record the future segment, I can say during that. But I'll probably just tell you guys next week. I'll probably cut this out. But I'm very excited for that. I've been practicing a lot. with different stages of inebriation to kind of see what my best Tetrising is, and I think I found the right amount of drunk to enter this tournament.
we haven't even talked about tournaments, but there's game tournaments all weekend, all board games, video games, all kind of stuff. Would it be totally heretical if I talked about a board game?
No, of course.
So there's like a weird PAX curse where like every year I come to PAX and I find a board game and I fall in love with it and I buy it and then I never play it again. Last year I bought Keyforge, which was like a card game developed by the guy who did Magic. Ended up giving that to my nephew for Christmas because I never played it again. But this year, I'm really sure I'm going to play this one again. It's called Dice Throne, and it's like it's like Battle Yahtzee. Basically, you have a character with attacks, and each character is different and has different attacks and play styles. And then you roll dice, and you use those dice to determine what kinds of attacks you can do. And then there's a back and forth, and there's some card stuff too in there. But it's really fun. It's a good blend of like randomness on top of a real game with strategy. So you kind of don't have to be great at games, which is good because I'm bad at games.
Is that like 2-player? Or
yeah, you can. So it feels to me very much built for a 1 versus 1, but there are 3-person variants and 4-person.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. Check it out. They just started their season 2, I guess, and it's the best packaging I've ever seen in my life for a board game. Like it's so good. I'm in love with it. But
that board game Fire Tower looked pretty cool too. Is that what it was called? Fire Tower? Yeah.
Fire Tower, and the fire starts in the center of this board, and there's 4 towers at each corner, and you're trying to set the other towers on fire.
Yeah, so you're like controlling the direction of the wind to spread like little fire pieces that you place on the board.
Cool.
So it like spreads throughout this forest, so you burn down the other towers. It's kind of fucked up, especially given what's going on in Australia right
The
now.
world is on fire.
Wow.
But it looked like a really fun game. Very beautiful art for that as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's also lots of interesting panels, and we've between the 4 of us, I think we've seen a lot of different ones. But I do want to start with the one that James recommended. We go to Cheap Ass Gamer.
Oh, I wonder why you're talking about this one, Patrick.
He this is somebody you can follow on the internet who posts links to good video game deals, especially physical games. He's a physical collector, and he talks about the best way to find deals for half of his panel, and then he gives away a ton of shit in the second half.
He does this every year. I mean, every year he's done this raffle. Also, sorry, just for whatever it's called, Video Game Deal at Video Game Deals on Twitter is probably the best place to find them.
And also CAG Deals.
CAG Deals on
Cheap
Instagram.
Ass Gamer, CAG Deals.
Yeah.
So none of us that were there won anything until the very end when he's like, all right, this next one's just going to take the rest of this shit.
We were out of time, and he was just like, all right, whatever, we're clearing it out.
And so I won the rest of the shit. And it was
You were one number away from me. I was so pissed.
I was joking with James about how I was super glad you went because you didn't really want to go.
Yeah.
It's like, or else I would have ended up with his number.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I got about 12, 13 games, a couple of Best Buy gift cards. I ended up giving away half of the games because I got swarmed.
Well, they were a bunch of dupes too, right?
They were. I gave away only duplicates.
Yeah.
Because 10 people descended upon me of do you really want these games? And I'm like, I guess
That's so thirsty.
it really was. And so I was joking with Matt too. It's like, now I know why when you win the lottery, everybody says, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
People are not afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Or at least certain people aren't.
So the raffle's really fun, but also I really highly recommend you check this guy out. There's also Cheap Ass Games, the website that you can go to. He had a ton of great tips for buying physical games for less money. If you're interested in saving money, then you're not a chump. Then there's some good deals to be had. So check
just
it out.
Briefly, some of the tips that he gave were don't buy a game when it's released.
Yeah.
Unless it's
a
on sale.
multiplayer, or unless it's already on sale or a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Or if you really, really want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his point was that there's always a way to find a deal, or there's generally always a way to find a deal.
Yeah, take the time, slow down, find a deal online at these Twitter posts.
I guess work through your backlog until you can get it cheaper.
David.
I don't know what that is.
Uh,
Any other panels anybody wants to talk about that they saw?
I mean, for me, the streaming panel was the panel that I that I loved so
Yeah.
much.
It's like the future of streaming. Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
Or-
it's the
or
future
something
Future
like
of
that?
game streaming.
Future of game streaming. So they had multiple representatives from 3 different parts of streaming. So they had Parsec, which is a technology that you run on your PC where you can invite other players to play your game on your PC.
That you're kind of hosting over Parsec.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were talking to some other people that were there. And so what that would look like is, let's say you're playing a single player game like, I don't know. I can't think.
Or you could do like a local multiplayer game like Towerfall or something.
Right.
Or if
Yeah.
you wanted to play that game online, that doesn't have a built-in online, but because it's like single screen multiplayer. But if you wanted to play that with your friend who's like far away, you're basically hosting that online.
Yeah, it's like a
together.
digital way to pass the controller to someone else.
Oh,
and they
that's
can
cool.
play that game on your computer and you can see the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that Parsec was one person representing, talking about future game streaming. Another one was Rainaway,
Yep.
Yeah.
Rainway.
Rainaway.
which is allows you to play your games anywhere through a browser.
Yeah, your like PC Steam games or whatever.
Yeah, there was actually a Rainway app being developed for the Switch for a while, but Nintendo shot it down.
And there was another guy too. I don't remember what he was from.
He was from Chrono GG.
Chrono GG.
Yeah.
What does he do? I didn't get an idea.
Chrono GG is I think it's like a sales platform. I think like he was the one that was the least streaming of all of
yeah.
it, but I think that they have streaming options included in their platform.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about them. I just know that they're a sponsor of GDQ. Which
Yeah,
is
because-
the reason I know that.
that's why. I know that.
What the tech that they're trying to do is decrease the level of friction for using a game and you buying it.
Right.
So like the Stadia was really big. Is like if
Yeah.
you see someone playing a game and you're like, oh, I want to play that game.
Wait, hold on. Did you say Stadia?
Yeah, that's another thing. Stadia.
Two of the dudes on the panel pronounced it Stadia.
and swore that that's the way you're supposed to say.
Even though in all the press junkets that Google has done, they've said Stadia.
Did they also pronounce it Nintendo? Oh, I love to play the Stadia.
But getting back to Matt's point, the big deal they're trying to get is like when you see a game and you want it, you can just get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what he was.
Yeah, it's
focusing
none
on.
of the like go to Steam, log into Steam, download from Steam. It's like you click it. It's like a one click. You buy it and you're playing it immediately.
yeah.
And the host for this panel was really fantastic too. I don't know. I
forget his name, yeah.
but he's very aware of these issues involved. Works somehow related to it. I don't remember. Anyway, it
I
was
think
just
he
a-
works for PAX.
It was a
Yeah,
fantastic panel because they all are very consumer friendly, pro consumer companies, or in some ways, I mean, they're trying to make
Consumer
money,
focused, yeah.
But also just to hear people talk about what game streaming can do in a positive way, because basically on the internet you just hear people say, "Fuck that! I don't want game streaming because I just want to have my hardware. It's never going to work."
Yeah, and because latency.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to play a Call of Duty game where there's 2 millisecond
Yeah.
latency.
Well, I mean, they kind of touched on this in the panel as well, and this is something I've heard from other game industry insiders, is that, like, Stadia is essentially failing right now, even though it works decently well. And the main reason that it's failing is because the people that they're targeting are already core gamers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, what they should be doing is targeting the billions of cell phone users
Yeah.
that, like, don't already have an Xbox One or a gaming PC or a PS4. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to, like, give these core gamers something that they can already get that's better for them
Right.
on their current console that they already own.
And another point that was made sort of in tandem with that is that game streaming eventually needs what game streaming needs to do is wait for like the developers to catch up and like make a game that's built with that in mind, and that will convince larger game audiences.
That was
And
a
like,
really good
what
point.
does that look like? We don't really know, but maybe something where thousands of people are playing at once in one server, or something that's very real time based. And the ideas that were being kind of hatched there was really cool.
Either way, I think that this would be a really good topic for its own episode.
Yeah,
at some
so
point.
we don't have to
It
go
totally
too
is.
deep into this.
If I can be honest, until about 60 seconds ago, I thought this was a panel on like Twitch streaming.
No, it's about like the future
Yeah.
of how we ingest games.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
really cool.
That sounds really fascinating.
Like, if right now we have consoles that do all the rendering for the
right,
video
yeah,
game
we're talking
through
about
it.
having it be somewhere else, and we just
All in the cloud.
we just
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
like
R.I.P.
stars.
Gaikai.
Yeah. And I think we should talk about this in another episode. And similarly, I went to a panel on like easy modes in games, and I definitely want to talk more on, like, have an episode on difficulty in games, because there was a lot of stuff in that in depth that was from 3 people that work at different developers kind of talking about.
Did you enjoy that panel?
I did. It was really interesting, and I wrote a lot of notes, and we're going to talk about it more at some point, I think. You know what I mean? So I won't get too into it.
I went to a panel during that same time that was about composing music for video games, in particularly open world video games. It was the composer of Just Cause 3 and Just Cause 4. And he talked about like having all these different elements of the game, different kind of characters that you will encounter, different modes of gameplay. Like there are parts where you're just exploring the world. There's areas or parts of the game where you're exploring the sky. Then there's times when you run into combat, but that's incidental combat, that's story-based combat and whatever. And so he has all these kind of different things, and it's the spectrum essentially of different styles that you have to make music for. And the idea is that since the game is always evolving and the gameplay is constantly changing, the music has to also change naturally with the gameplay. And a lot of times that happens, you know, but in the way that you would create a song that can be layered in different ways with different stuff. And so I found that very fascinating. That's something that we actually talked about a little bit when we did a music and video game episode. So I really enjoyed that talk.
Well, my panel selection, I guess, was far more bizarre. I picked a panel that I only later, after I picked it, realized was a podcast that I don't listen to. But I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it enough. It's called Let's Place, where the idea was
we were there too.
We all went there.
Yeah, we were there.
I know. I'm talking now to the listeners. If you can believe it.
Thank
Anyway,
you for listening.
I refuse to.
Yeah. No, I invited the Switch Heads to it too, and I was like, man, I hope this doesn't suck.
It was good. It was entertaining.
It was fun. They are attempting to rate every video game on the extremely objective scale of, I don't know, I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, they're rating every video game from Death Stranding to a dentist theme Pac-Man clone called Plaque-Man.
And a WiiWare exclusive called Dog Football.
Oh, wait, what was the full name for that? Was like
Jerry Rice's.
Jerry Rice and what was his dog's name? Nihilus or something like that. Yeah, dog football game for girls.
Every episode they take 5 new games and they compare them to whatever's in the middle of the list of what they've ranked so far, and then the middle of that and middle of that.
They
so on
keep
so
moving.
Forth. But the host was very entertaining.
Yeah, he did a really great job. I was very impressed.
And it turns out Barbie Horse Adventure is now the #1 game of all time.
Yeah, because they let the audience decide. So obviously the rankings are suspect, but it's an entertaining time.
It was very fun. Yeah, just kind of a random thing to try out, and I think it worked out for them.
They hated Death
They
Stranding
hated Death
so
Stranding.
much.
I get just the heat coming off of Matthew as I'm sitting next to him.
That's art, baby. Let's appreciate art for what it is.
Try something new.
Cool. Any other thoughts on PAX South before we move on?
No, I mean, we still got another day. We're recording this on Saturday night,
Yeah.
so we'll be hanging out tonight, going back for the Tetris tournament actually pretty soon. I'm putting on my socks right now, so I'm not late. And then we got some more panels and more show floor stuff tomorrow. So I'm excited to keep going with this.
All right, we'll take a real brief break, and we'll be right back to talk about the games we've been playing recently. All right, and we're back. We're going to talk about the games we've been playing this week. I don't have a lot to say, so I'm just going to go first. I haven't really played much, partly because this is a short week for our show, but also I just haven't played anything new. But I did 100% the Mario Maker story mode today at PAX between things.
We were standing in line. They have like a what do you call it? Slot machine thing where you can win prizes.
Another raffle. I was trying to test my luck.
I was standing on one side, and you won.
Oh, well, I only won like the cheap.
Sure, yeah,
thing.
but still, you should buy a lotto ticket. Anyway, yeah, I was standing in one side of the line, and Patrick was in the other, and I could see him sitting there playing Mario. And Patrick, look up. And he didn't.
Wait, what did you win?
Nothing. It's just like a little card game thing.
God, you keep
Anyway.
winning shit.
Patrick later told us that
I'm into
he
contests.
wins
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
You should run for office.
Yeah.
Well, who wants to go next? Who's been playing what?
I'll go next. I've been playing 2 games. Blade and Sorcery is a VR game, but they came out with an update to the Star Wars mod, which means they added a bunch of new lightsabers.
Oh, damn.
So they added the lightsabers from Fallen Order, which is
cool.
it's like a circle, and there's 2 lightsabers on each side, and you can spin it in VR.
Yeah, those are actually from Rebels. Or those are the Inquisitor lightsabers.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
so they have those, but in VR, you just press a button, it just spins, and
Yeah.
it just destroys people's heads.
That's awesome.
And it's so silly. And what's the character from Rebels? I can't think of his. The blaster lightsaber.
What?
Oh, are you talking about?
What's his name?
Han Solo.
No.
No.
Come on.
Darth Vader.
No, his name is
So-
Kanan Lear. No, Kanan Lear's a real man.
It starts with an
His name
E.
is Kanan.
Is it-
Ezra.
Ezra. They got his. But like Star Wars mods, like any Star Wars games feels like there should be a really good lightsaber simulator.
Yeah.
But this is scratching that itch, and it's great. Also, second nerd thing I've been playing is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which, dude, I love Dragon Ball Z so much.
And you were saying it's just okay, or
Yeah, it's a standard action RPG. The leveling system, you collect orbs in this like 3D world,
the
and
open world aspect of it?
yeah, the
or-
open world, but the orbs are kind of like haphazardly scattered. But you use those to increase the strength of your attacks, and you follows the whole Dragon Ball Z story, which I've played so many times.
Mhm.
But it's also cool to like hop on Nimbus and like fly around.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what would excite me about it is the open world stuff.
Yeah, and you can see Yamcha's house from Dragon Ball and like
Ooh.
some other really cool representations of places that we haven't seen in a 3-dimensional Dragon
Cool.
Ball Z game. And that's been really fun. And PCs, there's PC mods, and you can get the Goose from Untitled Goose Game.
It's not a mashup I ever needed.
But now you do. Now you know. David.
Today we were playing some Smash together, the 3 heads. We don't ever do that.
Oh, that's right. We
never do
played
that.
some Killer Queen Black together
We
as
played some
well.
Killer Queen Black and some Tricky Towers.
Oh, that's true.
Which was a lot of fun. So that was-
Patrick's Piranha Plant has gotten dirty.
yeah, I don't like playing against it.
I am happy that they can acknowledge that I am a little better at Smash than I used to be. I have actually put a lot of hours into that.
And then, other than practicing for this upcoming Tetris 99 tournament that I'm enrolling in, I have played a little bit of this game that was on my radar a while ago. And Patrick, tell me if I've said this already, but it's called Garage.
You may have mentioned buying it, but you may have said you were going to save it for
Well,
later.
I'll talk about it now. Garage is great. It's the top down like indie that's very like edgy and grimy and kind of is horror themed as well. They're kind of like zombies and stuff and like multiple baddies that you can do. It's very gory. But it reminds me a lot of this game that I loved called Teleglitch, which is a roguelike. And Teleglitch was like very basic pixel art, but the main kind of caveat about it is that you would only see what your character could see. So if there are like walls in front of you, your like field of vision is very, very narrow. So a lot of times you're dealing with like sounds and being like, oh, I know there's something in this room. I better move around this column and see if I can find it. And that really increased the tension, especially for such a low res game. Garage takes that concept of like the field of vision kind of simulator, which I think Ape Out also does to a certain extent. But then adds these like really beautiful, like grimy, fucked up pixel graphics to it. And it's not a roguelike. It's like a level based game. But I've been really enjoying it. It's got like good melee combat and then it's got good kind of gunplay as well. So if you're looking for like just like an edgy as fuck game on the Switch, I would really recommend Garage. It's a good little indie that's flown under the radar.
Nice. So I just finished replaying Final Fantasy IX on the Switch, which was super fun.
Oh yeah.
I think you mentioned something in one of the episodes about like just cheating a little bit
Oh, yeah.
to get past the sucky parts.
Fuck grinding.
I definitely did that when I was grinding, and then I got to the end of the game. I'm fighting the final boss. Everybody in my party's dead except for my healer, who has Berserk. So she's just attacking and doing like nothing, no damage. And after like one or two of those, I was just like, I'm just going to turn this on real quick.
Turn on to
Start doing
9,999
9,999 damage. 2 turns later, it was over. I was like, that felt right.
Well, you've beaten the game already, too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, talking about that easy mode
Yeah.
panel, one thing that kind of came up was the like huge difficulty spike in final bosses that happens in some games, and I kind of do think that is dumb.
Well, and
in some
especially
ways.
when you've like, I put a lot of hours into this game. I'm ready to move on to the next thing.
Right,
I just
especially
want
in a long RPG.
Yeah, I just want it to be done, and that's what I got, and I was pretty happy with it. So I was panicking a little bit because I was in between games, and I knew I was going to have some downtime here at PAX, and I was like, well, what am I going to play? I don't have anything that I could just pick up, and somebody was playing a game called Mana Spark that I am friends with.
Oh, yeah. That's a great game.
I picked it up for 99 cents and it was free because I used gold points, and I'm loving it. It's just, it's very reminiscent of Binding of Isaac, I think. It's a roguelite with like a medieval fantasy type theme to it. You have
Like an archer.
Yeah, you have a bow and arrow or a crossbow. There's different characters you can pick up and abilities and stuff like that. It's just really, we talked earlier about like feeling good playing a game, like the movement and the attack. It's so crisp. It's so good. I'm really enjoying the shit out of that. And what's the name? I can't remember the name of the developer.
It is from
because I think they also did one.
They did. So it's from that. There was like a bunch of games.
Yeah, that big sale they had.
Yeah. So they
or giveaway rather.
Yeah. Hold on. Can we? Here,
but yeah, it's. I'm gonna vamp. But yeah, it's just. It's just, it looks very pretty too. And for and great soundtrack. And for 99 cents, it's just, I'm blown away by the fact that this was so inexpensive. I think it might be on sale right now.
Yeah, Cubic is the publisher.
There you go.
They did that big sale where it was like, you would get all the games for free if you like got one every single day.
As long as you checked in every day.
Mana Spark was the secret game at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But it's phenomenal. Highly recommend it. Super cheap too. And it's been perfect too, because I can sit in line and play it for 5 minutes and put it down and not have any problems. So yeah, highly recommend.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thanks to James West for being our
Thanks for coming to our hotel.
Thanks for having me. I didn't get a chance to plug myself last time. I'm at Folksedo on Twitter. FAUXEDO.
Okay,
Very
nice.
good.
Well, thanks to Corduroy for doing the music. Thanks to everybody for listening. Sorry to Chris McKeever, we didn't play Disney Tsum Tsum. We were too
out of
busy
town.
here at the festival.
Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't enjoy it.
We'll get it next week.
Disney. You think so?
Yeah.
Let's get it next
actually,
week.
I showed up to the Disney Tsum Tsum panel at PAX, and you guys said you were going to be there, and then you didn't show up.
Next year.
Yeah,
We'll go
All
next
right,
year to
next
the Disney
next
Tsum Tsum panel.
So James just said your call out. Say that again.
My Twitter handle is at Folksedo, FAUXEDO.
You can find me online at Monolith Fiji.
I am PDYX.
I am on Twitter, Matthew, MATHY0U.
That does it for the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much to our good friend Benjamin de Jager for being on the episode as well. And we'll be talking to you guys next week. We got a great show for you guys next week. It's going to be so much fun. PAX was so much fun. If you've never been, give it a try. It's not even that expensive to go to PAX.
It's true.
It's definitely worth it. Other than that, folks, we love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.